Today on ITWeb TV, we are here at the state IT agency SITA. We are here to chat to the newly appointed SITA MD, Dr. Bongani Mabaso, to find out more about his strategy for the business, some of the challenges that the business has faced, and the future that he envisions for the SITA of tomorrow. Dr. Mabaso, thank you so much for taking the time to chat to us. You've been here for almost 2 months now. How's that going?
It's been very interesting, I must admit. I love people. So meeting with people has been the highlight. Meeting with clients, meeting with employees at SITA, meeting with various stakeholders. I always love engaging. I'm an extrovert, so for me, my thinking centers are external. So I always get energized when I engage with people. So I think that aspect has been very positive. Just meeting various people, hearing what they have to say and share. Interestingly enough, with employees at SITA are called citizens, so permit me to use that word. But the interesting thing about citizens is when you meet them, they'll tell you a whole lot of issues, right? Like 10 pages of issues. But then the last page, page number 11, has all the solutions. So it's just about listening, to people, hearing what they have to say, and then waiting for that opportunity to go, hey, where's the solution? And generally it will be there. So I must admit I've enjoyed that. It's not without challenges. There are many, many, many challenges. I think I've been here for less than 2 months and I've had no less than 10 client escalations. So it's quite a lot. And we had one this morning. And it's quite disheartening to listen to clients and how they've been dropped in the past and so on. But I'm encouraged by the fact that every single time we've spoken to them and they listen to our strategy and where we're trying to take the organization, they're like, okay, we understand, let's go, let's partner, how can we work together better? So they may be disappointed, but when you speak to them, you can see there's still hope, they still have heart, which is very encouraging.
Are you able to maybe share an anecdote in terms of some of the challenges that maybe one client might have experienced and how you guys plan to, solve that or ease that issue?
Right. Clients are generally concerned about two things. One is speed, the second is price. If I can summarize all my interactions, they've been about those two things. I remember I met with the Office of the Chief Justice, the Secretary General, in the office in Midrand. It was an hour meeting. She ended up speaking for an hour before I said a single word. And the meeting overran and we ended up leaving after 5 o'clock. I think we started around 3. So it shows you the amount that she had to say about some of the challenges, dealing with those two issues, price and then delivery, the delivery speed. And I think, part of the challenge is the way SITA is configured internally, right? And the way the clients, almost expect things to happen. They don't always align 100%. So as a client, you say, look, I want to go do X, Y, Z. This is what you imagine. You task SITA. SITA tries to go and do, that thing. But you often find that the procurement processes internally, the various handovers between the departments within SITA, it's not always aligned and coordinated well. And so it's easy for a client request to sit somewhere, right, in someone's, laptop, and then, client feels like, you're not raising the issues on time. They're having to come to you and say, look, where is this thing? They have to complain first before we say, okay, it's actually stuck here, we'll unblock it and get it going. So I think there's a mismatch there that is a bit of a challenge. Every single time I've met with a client, I've said, look, I've set up a PMO within my office just to track these client escalations and make sure that we know where they are and how to unblock them. Because often to unblock is very easy, right? It's someone that isn't sure that they can make this decision, right? It's an issue of feeling, am I empowered or not? And so just elevating those issues, giving people that empowerment to go, look, you can make this decision. We can move forward for the sake of service delivery and for the sake of the client, and then unblock it and get it going. In those engagements, I think we've managed to find each other. The SG has, I can confirm, been quite pleased with our response to our issues. and in fact has given us a new tasking that came in yesterday to go, look, can you help me with my whole strategy? Because what you've said was so positive that I actually want you to help me build my whole strategy for the Office of the Chief Justice, in terms of a digital strategy. So those are some of the anecdotes that I can share that I think when you go engage with the clients, listen to their complaints and problems from a human perspective, I think you'll always find that opportunity to go, okay, fine, I understand what you've gone through, and yes, we've dropped the ball in these areas, but here's what we're going to do. We'll set up a PMO in my office, we'll track your issue. Personally, I'll look at it every single week to make sure that it is moving, and then also look at how we can then take things forward. I'm a strategist, right? I work in business transformation, so it's never just about the one project. It's always about that one project, but then how we can then look at your entire landscape and help you to transform. And I think that's always resonated with clients because I think they're crying out for advice, right? They're crying out for someone to come in and help them to navigate their space and support them with technology. And I think if we can play that role well, clients will be very happy.
What do you feel is missing within SITA?
Yeah. Yo, there's a lot. SITA doesn't have, and I'm talking about, let me speak at an exco level, right? Because a lot of these functions can be represented if you go lower down in the organization, but it doesn't have a strategic representation. But we don't have a CISO, for example, Chief Information Security Officer. For me, that's scary in an organization of this size. That's meant to have cybersecurity as its biggest deliverables, from a government perspective. We don't have a CIO, right? Someone that looks after our own internal systems. Because then basic automation for your own processes, it's just lacking or falls by the wayside. So there's no one department that says, this is my duty. And so as a result, it tends to fall by the wayside. We don't have a COO. I think the biggest, sort of gap for me is a COO. Someone that worries about delivery to clients end to end. Right, so as soon as an order comes in, whether it is a repeating order, a renewal of an agreement, a new request, etc., to ensure that through the entire value chain of delivery, that is actually taken care of. Someone that can look at all our processes, make sure they're optimal for client delivery, and then also importantly to put the right monitoring across the value chain to know that here we've got bottlenecks, and not just at a generic level like procurement. I mean, even people that don't work at SITA will tell you procurement is a problem. But what about procurement is a problem, right? We need to know that. Is it contract management? Is it, the awarding? Is it the adjudication? What about procurement is problematic? Let's measure that so that we know how to improve what you're doing. And so I think, improving that measurement across the value chain is quite critical. And that's one of the main things the COO will be doing. It's just putting in the measurements across the value chain to let us know where we're doing badly, and also to improve on those processes.
You mentioned the strategy.
Yes.
If you can just give us in terms of what exactly is your plan around that.
Yeah. Look, I think if you look at SITA was launched in 1999/2000, somewhere there. I get 2 days, but I think it might have been softly launched in 1999 and then properly in operation in 2000. When everybody was dealing with the Y2K thing. I don't know if you remember that. But the biggest challenges in technology were that, right? Y2K. The typical sort of big technology implementations were mainframe, payment systems, ERP systems. If you worked in logistics, it was maybe SCADA systems and the like. And it was really the early days of the internet, right? And so the rate of change of technology was quite low. It wasn't very high. And so the client requests that were coming from, various people, and I'm talking about our clients now, were quite, it was the early phases. It was the early building blocks, right? Can you get me an ERP system? Can you get me a, just email, those type of things. Where if you look at probably since around 2009, 2010, we've had an explosion in the ICT sector, right? From various fields, whether it's AI, whether it's smartphones with computing. I mean, the number of transistors now you can fit in an application processor is ridiculous. It's billions and billions and billions of transistors. Your phone right now, I don't know what kind of phone you have. I know you said you switched it off. But it's more powerful than the laptop that you used to have in the year 2000, right? That's how much technology has changed. And so I think, all of these changes in the macro sort of economic factor, especially in the ICT sector, have had a massive impact on our clients. And so the world in 2000 and the world in 2023 is vastly different. And I think because of that, you need to reinterpret that, the role of SITA, in that environment. And so I think I'm saying all of this to say that the rate at which our clients are asking for things versus the capacity that we have as SITA are just not compatible, right? You can ask our executive for national and regional consulting that every year we have an unfinished order book. We've got about $1 billion that we could execute that we just don't because we don't have the capacity, right? That's just how much technology has moved forward. And so we started asking ourselves, well, rather than just being, fighting for capacity, trying to build capacity so we can meet all our client demands, is there another model we can look at, right, that can facilitate the exchange of goods and services between the public sector, right, our clients, and the private sector, and of course the things that SITA can do on its own, we should do, right? What model can that look like? I keep telling my team an anecdote. I say with SARS, I mean, you're drinking a bottle of sparkling water now. You can go buy that water from anywhere, right? Whether it's a spaza shop, whether it's a Woolworths or a Pick and Pay, it doesn't matter, right? But if you look at the receipt right at the bottom, you're going to find 15% VAT that will come from SARS, which means SARS doesn't care where you go buy things, but there are guardrails in the background, right? There are guardrails in the background to ensure the collection of tax for the state. And so we started asking ourselves, what model like that could there be for SITA, right, where we allow clients to be able to interact, with the private sector and interact with other solution providers, SMEs, in a facilitated way, where they can do what they need to do, but right at the bottom you find that 15%, SITA that's looking at cybersecurity, the networking, the hosting, and the like, so that you allow innovation and speed without necessarily saying we're delegating SITA's powers away and mandate away, to the private sector. And I think that's where, for me, we need to unpack in detail, to understand what might that look like. Yeah.
And you mentioned, you've given quite detail around the advancements of back when SITA started to where we are right now.
Yeah.
Then does that mean that the SITA Act needs to change or to meet some of these objectives that you mentioned?
Potentially. I don't think the SITA Act, though, is the biggest problem. I think the biggest challenge is the interpretation of the Act.
Okay.
I just think right now the way we interpret it, in fact, SITA is known as the state procurer of ICT. I think for me that's problematic and it's holding us back. We can't be known as the state procurer of ICT. We're not just about procurement.
What do you want to be known as?
We want to be known as a facilitator of the economy in the ICT sector, so that we can allow a platform for the public sector and the private sector to interact in a safe way, right? So to play on both sides of the economy, for me, I call it this way. I call it SITA being more proactive. So if you play on both sides of the economy, rather than right now where we only deal with our clients, so the demand side of the economy, because the economy is about supply and demand, right? And so you can facilitate the exchange of goods and services. Right now, we just worry about our clients. We wait for our client to give us a tasking. It ends up in a government order. We execute, and only then, when we have to go out on tender, it's only then when we involve the private sector. I'm saying that's too reactive, right? Why do we have to wait for the client to task us? I'm saying if you're playing on both sides of the economy, then you can work both sides of the economy. One, on the demand side, why not engage the clients proactively, right? Be like a mini Deloitte or mini Accenture, etc. Provide advisory, right? Go to the clients and go, what is your landscape like? Where are your challenges? Where can we assist you? Can we help you build a strategy, right? To understand, how to take you from where you are, where your problems are, to the future. And then similarly, we can take some of those thematic issues and publish them, right? And invite private sector participation to say, look, can you help us solution, in these areas? Whether it be issues around health, issues around schooling and education, and the like, right? So that for me is quite critical. Then the second thing is now playing on the supply side of the economy. Can we proactively vet solutions in the private sector? So can we go and meet various suppliers and partners and work with them to vet solutions, right, from a cybersecurity perspective, from a networking, hosting, data management perspective, and pre-vet them and put them in what I call the SITA marketplace, so that when your public sector client wants them, they're there, they're pre-vetted, right? It's not a reactive thing. It's something that you've done ahead of time.
Well, we know that SITA has had quite a number of challenges.
Yes.
As you alluded to it earlier. And they're public.
Yeah.
But then, so how do you change the mindset to what you are planning now?
For me, it's about engaging at a one-on-one level to understand your problems and explain how we can solve your problems, and also explain how we are changing SITA for the better in the future. And then secondly, it's about delivery, right? Because if I say those things, but then it's not backed up by delivery, then no one's going to believe us, right? And so for me, it's about having those personal engagements as we build our brand, we build the brand. So when I talk with the DG, when I talk with the government CIO, I'm representing the SITA brand, and I need to be aware of that. And I hope that every single employee within SITA almost starts to embody that, to go, I'm wearing the SITA brand, and when I engage with the client, that's what I need to be aware of. So I think it starts at that, almost ground level, right? Personal engagement as we build the brand and represent the brand well, and then backed up by delivery. Because if I come to you and I say we're going to do X, Y, Z, and then we do it, I've built the brand, right? But if I come to you and I say we're going to do X, Y, Z, but I don't do it, I'm diminishing the brand. So for me, it's as basic as that. The big brand building must support then the delivery initiatives and the personal engagements that we have, not the other way around.
Well, government departments and organizations are your biggest client. Well, they're your main client.
Correct.
So what are they looking for? What IT elements do they want? Are they prioritizing like modernization?
Right,
Or are
right.
they looking at security?
Right.
Are they looking at the cloud?
Right.
What is it that they are
Yeah.
that they currently want?
Looking for. It's a whole host of things. It's not one size fits all. It depends on the cluster. So if you look at the Ministry of Health versus Police versus Department of Defense, they'll all have their things that they emphasize. But I think there are themes across the board that most of them are looking for. I think one is connectivity, because connectivity is fundamental, right? If you don't have connectivity, then you can't have any other conversation around systems and providing service to the client. So connectivity is a big one. We are running quite a number of projects, in fact, around the area of connectivity. In fact, you might have seen in the budget vote, the minister announced the 6 billion rand initiative that SITA will be running, for broadband across the country. And it's exactly for that reason that without connectivity, you're not going to, move forward. And we've also met with quite a lot of private sector CEOs over the last month and a bit since I've started, probably about 10. So it's been quite busy. And again, sharing this model with them and testing, and I must say they're very, very supportive. And they're also running quite a few initiatives around connectivity. And then so we're looking at various partnerships there that we can look at to fast track the rollout of connectivity. So that's number one. The second one that I think is quite fundamental is around hosting infrastructure, particularly around cloud. So quite a few departments are looking at cloud as a viable alternative to on-prem sort of storage and hardware and the like. Look, at the same time as well, we've met with Google, with Microsoft, with Oracle, with AWS, with a whole host of other players as well, and still meeting more, by the way. To look at renewing our framework agreements to allow our clients to be able to consume these cloud services in a way that is secure. So I think those are the two things that are quite fundamental. The last one that I think is now more future-looking is our clients are looking for advisory. Can you help me build my digital strategy, right? Help me to look at my environment, given the macroeconomic factors, what my clients, as in the citizens, expect, and can you help me build a strategy to then go forward? We've had a number of requests around that, since I've joined. Yeah, so I'd say those are the three broad categories. But of course, if you go to each one of them, there'll be nuances that you can unpack. And I think that's part of the challenge of working for SITA is that, you've got policing, you've got health, you've got education, you've got tourism, you've got all these various sectors. And how do you become an expert in all of them? Well, the answer is you can't. So you need to partner very well, right, to help you to cover the gaps where you don't have, the expertise.
SITA also doesn't get a lot of love from one specific department, that is Home Affairs.
Home Affairs.
What are your immediate plans to address
Correct,
it? Yeah.
correct. Look, the biggest challenges in Home Affairs have to do with two things. One is connectivity and stability in that connectivity, and then two, hosting infrastructure. And I think we'll do more to help our clients and also the general public to understand where SITA's role is and where it's not SITA's sort of role. But in this interview, I'll defend my clients, so Home Affairs is right. We looked at two things. One, can we look at the concept of network as a service? So the connectivity challenges that we're looking at are because you've got outdated sites, right, that SITA provides at Home Affairs sites, where the links are very, 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 slow. I'm talking about 2 meg lines and the like. If you go to some of the remote areas, that's the kind of connectivity that you have.
That is brutal.
And sometimes there's no redundancy in those sites. So if one link goes down, then there's no way for you to recover until that is fixed. But if you look at the private sector, though, they've made lots of investment, right? Sometimes in those very areas. And we're saying, well, can we partner with them to alleviate some of the pain that we have there, right? So they were quite interested in having that conversation. I've had actually conversations and still having more, with players in the telecommunications space that can help us with some of that rollout. But now looking at it from a partnership perspective to go, look, can we partner with you to close some of the gaps that we have from a network connectivity perspective? So that was the one. The second one that they were interested in is around the cloud hosting infrastructure. We are accelerating our, the signing of various framework agreements with Oracle and AWS, with Amazon, with Google as well. So we met with all of these, companies, and we are busy now in the process of actually renewing those framework agreements where they've lapsed, but also signing new ones where we've never had one before. So for example, we don't have one with Amazon Web Services. So there's no simple way for government departments right now to consume services from AWS. So we're fixing that, right?
And just to get a sense of, how does SITA respond to when, let's say, a government department wants to ask for a deviation from
Yes.
Treasury because they haven't been satisfied with,
Yes.
or there's been such a long procurement process
Yeah.
that they're like, actually, you know what?
Yeah, let's give up.
Yeah.
So we're actually working on some guidelines to help departments with that. I think one has to be very careful sometimes with just saying, yeah, just go ahead and do something. In fact, we've had clients that have done that, deviated. They've gone and done something, got themselves into trouble with audit findings and things not working, cybersecurity attacks. I'm not going to mention the clients, but these are real cases. And then they've come back to SITA and go, can you please help us now with those things? So we're trying to prevent a situation where we go, right, the gates are open, go do what you want, and then they run into trouble because they don't have the capability, the capacity. I mean, SITA has a security operations center. Our clients don't. We understand networking. Our clients don't necessarily do that. We understand even the intricacies of procurement, right? And I know that that's something that we have to automate and improve on. But again, it's not as, the ones that we have, even as, even if they need improvement, they're more, sophisticated than what our clients have. Imagine a world without SITA in South Africa right now. You've got disintegrated government information, no cohesive, cybersecurity strategy and a defense strategy as well. There's no way to leverage that data in a cohesive way to monetize it for the client. So there's a very real role that SITA plays, and I think we must be very careful that we don't delegate the state's, responsibilities to the private sector and to partners. Very careful with that. If I may expand on this idea of the SITA marketplace, I think it's quite critical in allowing us to have that, because then we can look at things like smart contracting, where we can then go ahead and pre-engage and as many providers as possible, by the way, which means that SITA now needs to become radically good at partnering. Right now we're trying to be good at issuing our tenders, and that's fine. But I think part of our future and our rebuilding means that we need to be radically great at partnering, so that we don't just provide one solution to a problem, we provide 10. We're building a framework with guidelines, very clear guidelines. We're partnering with the AG as well to ensure that those processes are auditable, so that our clients don't then follow this new process and then still have challenges with audit findings in the future. You want to make sure that it's done in a way that's responsible, that doesn't take away SITA's mandate, but still promotes innovation, speed, fair pricing, and the like. So that's the future of, the future SITA that we're trying to build. One that promotes innovation in the ICT sector, one that promotes speed, promotes partnership, but still, you still have the controls and the guardrails, of SITA, so that we can play our role in cybersecurity and the like.
And what is the role of SMEs within this future?
Yeah, that's a very good question, because that's something I'm actually very passionate about. If I can go back to this idea of the SITA marketplace, part of us now working on the supply side of the economy means that we need to proactively look for solutions, right, in the market. And that means, by the way, big tech, medium-sized enterprises, and even startups, right? So we need to go ahead of time, partner with them, and try and get them vetted and put them in the SITA marketplace. The benefit for me, if I can go back to my example that I had earlier on the video conferencing solutions, is I can now put, if there's a hypothetical one called Kasi Connection that does something similar to Office 365 or Google Meet or Zoom, you can put them on equal footing. So now the client can be able to decide, which one do I want to try? And I can tell you right now, every single one of my clients have a mandate to support SMEs. they will try that. They will try it, especially if it works the same way and it's cheaper. They'll absolutely try it. And so we're actually promoting SME development by ensuring that they are in equal footing, with the big players. Because just following a normal, regular tender process, I mean, you can say all you want that you want SME development and the like, but let's face it, right? The system as a whole, I'm not talking about SITA, but just the system as a whole is rigged against SMEs. It's very, very difficult to land those big tenders if you don't have the history of having done a similar project before. The funds, sometimes we need guarantees of 50 million in your bank account. SMEs don't have that necessarily, and so forth. So it makes it very challenging for them to be able to win those tenders. However, if we go ahead of time and then pre-vet as many of them as possible, which is why I said we need to be radically good at partnering. So our future business model is to be radically good at partnering. So partner with these SMEs and then help them to get the solutions to a point that is vetted by SITA.
And, your shareholder has had quite a few leadership changes as over the years. We're on minister number 14 at the moment.
That's right.
But just to get a sense of how, does that at all impact what you guys are trying to do or what you will be doing? Or is it a matter of you just focus on the work and then whatever happens just is happening?
Yeah.
How does that impact you, if at all?
Look, shareholders, whether it's in the private or public sector, have an influence, obviously, on the organization. Obviously, it's not undue influence, right? There needs to be clear separation between the administration, which I would consider SITA part of, and the political side of things. And so I think that, the changes in the leadership, has an impact in terms of, what we're focusing on as a collective in the department. So if our goals are X, Y, Z, and then a new minister comes in and goes, no, those are no longer the goals. The goals are now, something else, ABC. It does make it challenging because you can't necessarily make plans and then change them as quickly as that because your CapEx, your investment cycles typically last a year or two, right? So, if a minister lasts only 6 months, I haven't even gotten started on executing whatever we might have agreed on. So I think it does have an impact. However, I also think that SITA as an SOC needs to have a level of resilience against those changes, in terms of the role that it plays. I think the mandate of SITA, regardless of which department it falls under, and right now it's obviously DCDT, and we're fully supportive and part of that department. But regardless of what department we fall under, right, we should be able to play that mandate because we understand it very well. Which for me, if I interpret it, is always been about facilitating, the growth in that ICT sector. I think that's what SITA's role should be, and not just necessarily seen as a procurer of state ICT. I think that's just one side of the equation, like I said before. I think we now need to start focusing on the other side of the equation, which is the supply side, right? So how can SITA almost grow its private sector arm and start partnering well in that side to ensure that we always have the best people to provide the right solutions for our clients.
We're in 2023, and do you see a future for SITA?
Yeah, we absolutely see a role for SITA going forward, and especially if it takes up its mandate, I feel, fully. And so not just waiting for working with clients and getting tasking and then going out on tender, but actually being a facilitator of growth in the ICT sector. I think there's a massive role for SITA to play, going forward. If you look across the world at various state agencies, and also SITA-like, equivalents, and the role that they play has been massive, right, and immense in their nations. So I think that role is always going to be there. Like I said before, I think if you take SITA away and just switch it off, I don't think people quite understand the amount of things that would go broken. Should that happen, and maybe we need to do more to talk about that, like what exactly is SITA doing. I think that's part of that brand building that you were talking about earlier. My answer was more around our clients, but I think where we failed, though, is to explain SITA to the general citizen so they understand what it is, what SITA does, and if SITA is not there, what actually happens, so that they're actually willing to be interested in working for the organization. I mean, we need young people. This sector, the ICT sector, can actually be the biggest employer in the country. I really believe that, especially for young people, and can be a solution for some of the unemployment crisis that we have, for unemployed youth. So yeah, I'm here. I'm representing young people, I suppose, and we dare not fail, because of the people that are looking to us to make it succeed. Yeah.